Imagine a world where more women have the time to fully explore their genius. Welcome to She Rebel Radio, the UK's podcast for women leaders and founders ready to unlearn conventional rules and lead their businesses of significance. Hailed for counter-status quo ideas and a whole dose of feminine perspective, my name's Lulu Minns. I host retreats and create spaces for women leaders to explore their genius. And today, I'm going to create that same space right here for you on this podcast. Welcome to episode 121 of She Rebel Radio, the Procrastination Benefit. This one is a big celebration for all the procrastinators out there, and maybe those of you that don't identify with being a procrastinator, but have maybe found yourself of late, maybe this year or over the pandemic years, procrastinating like a mother, that you haven't found yourself there before. So a big yay to all the procrastinators out there. We're going to be diving into this episode, exploring why procrastination gets a bad rep. Are we even in an abusive relationship with it? And what if there were actually some benefits to procrastination? Now, this episode was triggered by my great big year of procrastination. I think I do this quite often actually, and whilst we're not at the end of the year yet, I use one word to sum up my year. That's either in December or sometimes the end of the financial year in March, as I tend to run my year when spring starts. I always look back and think, what's the one word that summarises the year? Whilst we're not near the end yet, procrastination is my word. I have procrastinated like a mother this year, and 2022 was really about distraction. I was massively distracted by house moving, family stuff, and that has kind of continued, but tied in more with the energy of procrastination. So I was super triggered when I saw, and sometimes I hate the word triggered. Let's use the word activated. Like my nervous system was activated as I saw a fellow coach celebrating on LinkedIn that they had worked with a client who was no longer procrastinating. So big yes to the work that they had done with that client, that they were no longer procrastinating. And there's me, coach for, some 8 years, thinking, I'm sitting here procrastinating, but not feeling great about it on the one hand, but on the second hand, knowing that I'm long enough in the tooth and seasoned enough. Someone said to me a little while ago, you're more successful than me. And I said, no, I'm just more seasoned than you. That there must be a reason for this procrastination. And I'm a woman, it's fair to say, who is not comfortable with procrastination. It is the opposite of my default, which is to make decisions and make them fast. There is a saying that successful people make decisions, and when we're procrastinating, we're obviously postponing decision making or actions. And I don't know, I think there's a degree of me naturally being like that, very quick on my feet. As we were talking about our genius loci in the episode before this, that's definitely a genius of mine. But as we were sharing on there, that can be a meeting point within us. There can be a number of reasons why we, find that we have these innate gifts and talents. But I had a background as a litigator. Not only that, but I gave advice in the police station, etc. So there was no time for procrastination. I could not postpone decision making or actions because my clients were sitting there right in front of me, and as is particularly in criminal defence and in police station representation, you are getting paperwork on the spot. You're having to make decisions. You're not allowed to take it back to the office to think about it for a month before you do a bail application, okay? So there was no space for procrastination. And when I found myself procrastinating in business this year, not doing the things that I said I would do at the end of 2022 and getting super frustrated with myself, going, why am I not doing the thing that I said I was going to do? I began to explore what I said is that, do we have an abusive relationship with procrastination? Let's take a second to think about all the reasons we're told not to do it, why we should not procrastinate. One of my favorites is, and I feel like this podcast episode might get you, whether you're procrastinating, it's either going to shift you into action or it's going to allow you the space to procrastinate even more. But one of my favorites is enthusiasm is the opposite of procrastination. So enthusiasm is the opposite of procrastination. So if that's true, procrastination really indicates there is a lack of motivation, that we need to jump in and take action. I've used with my clients previously, and I know it has something that really resonates when I first started my business and didn't know kind of direction, things like that, to have a vision of yourself straddling a fence and you're literally going, shall I go that way or shall I go that way? And if you make no decision at all, you just stay on the fence, you stay where you are. And we're told to use apps, make lists, get shit done. Don't put off today, which can be done tomorrow. Don't put off today, which can be done tomorrow. I've seen, and I've been told many times, you're a woman that gets shit done. And I absolutely am. I've been, I was brought up to graft. My parents ran a business, a very small family business. There was no time for procrastination. That's another element in my kind of intergenerational story that leads us to our genius as well. So check out the previous episode for that. But some of my favorites about procrastination and this abusive relationship potentially we have with it, I saw is called the thief of time. It's a disaster. It's a disease that we have to tackle. And probably my ultimate favorite, it's like a credit card. It's okay until you get the bill. And as women leaders, it's not really something we want to be doing a lot of, because we're there to lead our businesses, we're there to lead teams, we're there to take action. But what if we get swamped in this procrastination? Could there be a reason for it? Could there be a whole load of timeless benefits? That there is endless benefits to. And if there is, what are they? Have you got any guesses or thoughts as to what they may be? And what examples have we got for when we've procrastinated and actually it's worked out for the better? So that's what I'm going to share with you as we wrap this She Rebel Radio summer series, the benefits of procrastination, or the procrastination benefit. Add a plural, add an S on that. And I'm going to give you 5. So the first one is intuition. We procrastinate when we have, and we really need to nurture our relationship with intuition. We are in relationship with our intuition. And it's something I believe we all have access to, some of us more than others. I think women have a stronger access to our intuition. We've been taught by society not to trust it and that it's just woo-woo, etc. But so many business owners, particularly female business owners, talk about intuition a lot, and we have to nurture it. So now, and this year of 2023 for me, has been a strong feeling of, that's not the road that you need to go down. Don't do that right now. This is not the time, or this is not the thing. And actually, if you do go and do it, you're going to waste a whole load of time on something that you shouldn't be doing. So then we can really go into procrastination. And I remember back in 2020, well, at the end of 2019, actually, I booked a retreat. So it's just pre-pandemic. I booked a client retreat in Morocco for April 2020. Now, I did my first retreat in 2017 in Morocco. And I was like, yeah, let's do another one in Morocco. It was a client retreat. All the clients were working with me one-to-one and had been on retreats with me before. So I booked it for April 2020. And then in January, I had a real strong desire and need to cancel it. So before I did that, and it wasn't even to cancel it, it was to postpone it, sorry. It wasn't to cancel it, it was to postpone it. So I reached out to my clients and said, look, I'm feeling like April's not the right time. I'm going to move this to the end of the year. And it may be something different. They had all worked with me before. They trusted me on that. So I cancelled it, postponed it to tune in a little bit more as to when it needed to be and where it needed to be. And I totally forgot about it. Not that I needed to book one, but with the pandemic, when it kicked off, and I was walking along the beach when we were in lockdown, when we were, allowed out once a day or whatever it was. It seems very alien times now. I remembered that on that particular day or week, I was supposed to be in Morocco on a client retreat. And I was so relieved that I'd cancelled it way before any of this stuff had kicked off, because that meant that my clients hadn't booked flights and it had been a far smoother process. And remembering this now, I'd said to them all, let's wait until spring and then I'll book something else and I'll check times with you and all of that kind of stuff. And they were totally cool with that. So it was also around that time that I was like, yeah, I need to rebook this retreat. Oh my God, we were supposed to be in Morocco. We would never have been allowed to go. So that was me postponing something, and you could say falling in the procrastination. I had a strong intuition that it wasn't the right time or the right place for that retreat, and I was 100% on point. And actually it made everything easier, not only for me but importantly for my clients, that they didn't have dramas with cancelling flights and getting money back and sorting out maybe childcare and all of those things. We'd all agreed that we could move it until the end of the year, and we eventually had to do it in 2021, I think. And yeah, beginning of 2021, we did it, not in 2020 at all, because of everything that was going on. So that's the first benefit, intuition. You're feeling like you may have committed and said you're going to do something, either to yourself, to your clients, to your business mentors, whatever it may be, but actually you're just like, it's not the thing. It's not feeling right. So really, really trust that within yourself. Secondly, when we procrastinate, we create space for innovation and creativity. Another huge thing I've learned in my business is that creativity has its own timeline. And I do feel like I've been trying to force that this year. Just because I'm ready doesn't mean the idea or creativity is ready to kind of be birthed or come through me yet. And just think, you may be a mum listening to this podcast as an example, that, you don't force a baby to be born before it's ready. There is a 9-month process, and it is unsafe if that process starts earlier than that. So, creativity and innovation has its own timeline. So I can feel it now when I'm really trying to force something before it's ready, because it's convenient to me, but the idea isn't fully ready. So there comes procrastination again, and it can be really frustrating. But I've really had to learn, instead of being the decision-making woman and, pushing and forcing stuff, to really allow it, which is a very feminine-based principle. Number 3, active procrastination. So whilst we might be procrastinating about the big thing that we're supposed to be doing and committing to, I just thought of something else that I said I would do this week, and I've been really productive today, as a case in point of doing loads of other stuff that seem far more fun, like recording this podcast episode for you, creating some toolkits and things like that, instead of doing some of the more boring legal, tax things, whatever you may want to call it. So that's called active procrastination. So you're not doing the thing that you're meant to do, and you're maybe not wanting to do it so much that you end up clearing a bigger list because you're distracting yourself, that you're like, oh, I'm going to do all the other stuff. But you actually clear a huge amount of stuff, and that's called active procrastination. And it may even be, instead of like doing that to-do list of other things that you've got to do, it may be that you're actually taking the time to do that inner work when you're actively procrastinating. Going to yoga more, doing more meditation, doing tuning in, going to retreat, being out in nature, that when the time comes for you to create the thing or do the thing that you said you were going to do, it is on a whole different level. It's on a whole different vibration. It's in a whole different space, and it's going to create a whole load more for you because of that. So that is like a huge timeless benefit to procrastination. Number 4 is conserving your energy. And I really felt, across the board energetically this year, that pace was a huge thing that we all needed to consider. And we were talking about this with Jo Darling on the first episode of our International Women's Day series, pacing ourselves, taking our time for things. And those people that push and force through that this year, and we've been talking about mental health more than ever and burnout, are really going to experience that. And it may be that you need more of your energy. I certainly feel like that. Certainly business-wise, in 2024, I need that energy to move forward. So this year has been about some other things that I need to look after and conserving my energy. Number 5 is that when the time comes, because this is what happens when we procrastinate, and again, my old job, I was very used to court deadlines and things needing to be done in particular timeframes. And if we procrastinate and don't do them, then it may be that we condition ourselves to work very well under pressure. So when we've only got a small window, and those of you that are trainers and facilitators may understand this, that when you've got to deliver something the next day and you're like, why am I not doing the thing? Why am I not doing the thing? I'm doing all the other things than the thing that I need to deliver tomorrow or the day after next, that actually you work really well under that pressure. And it could be, I do this with retreats, and when I'm training and facilitating, I can kind of feel into the group more, and that I've actually cleared out a whole load of stuff. So I'm super focused on what it is that I am doing. It takes me far less time to do it than I thought I needed, and that I've actually created incredible space for myself to be able to do it in a way that I wasn't able to before. So there's a degree of trust here, and trusting, when we need to be creating things and doing those things, that we can do it to a better level when we do it at the right time. So pulling those 5 benefits of procrastination together, the procrastination benefit in plural, following your intuition, creating space for innovation and creativity, active procrastination, conserving your energy for when you might need it, and working well under pressure. It seems that this relationship that, it's all one way with procrastination can only be a bad thing is a whole load of fluff. Yes, I feel like 75% of the time we should probably be getting on with it, taking action, because we get clarity from action, being enthusiastic, but we really can't value ourselves on our to-do lists, the using apps, the Trellos, the making lists, the getting shit done, when it's not the right time to do those things. So we need to balance that out with embracing a little procrastination and trusting the timeline of things that we are not always in control of. We are here to co-create, and that when we put all the pressure on ourselves as being a single creator, then it becomes really, really difficult, and we really have to push instead of bringing balance and harmony and co-creation, which I'm talking to my clients about that stuff all the time, of finding more ease and more flow with it. So it's been amazing to be here with you for this She Rebel Radio, very mini summer solo series. I hope you've got lots out of this series, including, as I said, the previous episode, finding your genius loci, also exploring your masculine default, and our very first one, avoiding the pitfalls of oversharing and learning to be in story and not use your story, but to be in it instead. Please share this series with any other incredible women, and don't forget what we've got coming up in September. Thank you for listening to She Rebel Radio. I've been Lulu Minns, and before you go, I'd love to invite you to join me online in September for 2 essential Women in Leadership trainings. the 3 keys to self-actualization, and the feminine leadership principles. These 2 trainings will support you to unleash more of your genius into the world in only the way that you can. They are essentials for all women leaders and she-rebels in today's world, and they will even deepen your perspective when tuning into this podcast. I'd love to see you there. Check out the show notes below.